Hello, I'm Harry Harding, and welcome to my new online series. These are troubling and uncertain times for actors, and indeed for the theatre industry. So I thought, whilst we're all locked down, I would keep in touch with my fellow creatives by talking about our favourite subject: ourselves. In this series, I'll be interviewing fellow actors and creatives on everything from their favourite roles to dream castings to funny backstage mishaps and more. But before we proceed, please don't swear, and please don't say Macbeth. Oh, hang on a minute. Cue the titles. My guest this episode is actor-musician Griffin James. Griffin is an actor and member of pop-punk band DoubleA. He has also directed and devised a number of pieces over the years. When Griffin left school in 2006, he began a 2-year BTEC in performing arts at the Chicken Shed Theatre, Enfield. He would appear in a number of productions during his studies, most notably Vanity Fair and A Christmas Carol. After his time at Chicken Shed, Griffin became a member of Incognito Theatre company. He was in 10 productions, including Teachers, The Picture of Dorian Gray, Stags and Hens, Rope, and Polly Teal's Bronte. In 2016, Griffin attended East 15 Drama School, where he studied for an MA in acting. During his training, Griffin appeared in productions of Richard II, The Cherry Orchard, and Suicide in B-flat. Following a devising project at East 15, Griffin also co-founded Unscathed Theatre company. Unscathed would later develop a project called Boxed, which began life at East 15. And the following year, Unscathed took a new piece of work called Match Day to the Camden Fringe Festival. Other productions since leaving drama school include tours of Sleeping Beauty and Dick Whittington in 2017 and 2018. Griffin, welcome to the show. Please don't swear, and please don't say Macbeth.
Try my best.
I know you will. So, first of all, Griffin, how are you? How have you been coping in lockdown?
I've been all right. I think it's I've been isolating on my own. Like, I live on my own, so it's been quite tricky in some respects for that. But I've definitely been keeping myself busy. A lot of just sort of like self-motivating things. I've been doing a lot of Zoom calls with my band, and we've been churning out content, writing together and things like that. And then also just checking in with other friends, other actor friends. It's been interesting. I think as much as it's weird, it's a great opportunity. It's like the gift of time has been given to us. We don't have to worry about our day jobs. We don't have to worry about, travel to and from work, all that sort of stuff. So we've kind of been given a little bit of something that creatives always want, which is more time to focus on what they're passionate about. It's kind of, I guess, the only thing that's odd about that is the fact that when you're creative, you're always with other people, or in some sort of part of the process you're always with other people, so it's different. It's a bit of an adjustment doing things through a screen all the time, but it's been interesting.
So I thought we'd start by talking about our old stomping ground, Incognito Theatre Company. Now, both of us are, shall we say, alumni of Incogs. You more so than me, I think it's fair to say. Would you say that performing at Incogs and led to you pursuing a career in acting?
It focused it a lot more. My first play at Incogs, I think I was maybe 21 or 22.
Oh, so a very long time ago then.
Well, you know, it was long enough. So I'd always known that acting was something that I wanted to do. But the great thing about Incogs was it was actually quite a high standard. I remember one of my favourite people at Incogs and in the world anyway, Sonia Taylor, who was actually my drama teacher at school, and also she was the artistic director at Incogs. She always used to say to me that a fair way to put Incogs was that it was more like semi-professional acting. The semi-professional being, it looks professional, but we're not being paid. But yeah, it definitely helped me learn more about what I felt an actor should be. And I think without Incogs, I don't think I would have ever been in a position to confidently audition for acting school. But I think the pinnacle was probably like Bronte, where I was really focusing in on what the character, who he was, what he was, doing research on him, finding out why he was the way he was. That sort of extra effort and that sort of extra effort was kind of the thing that was like, right, cool, you're ready to go to acting school. And then I had those sorts of moments in other plays, but when I was at acting school and I would reflect over the processes that I was going through in other shows in Incogs, it was like, oh, I never did that for that play, but I definitely did it for that one. I definitely did it for that. And yeah, it sort of made my goal a little bit more focused.
I mean, it certainly was a great training ground, and it produced some fabulous content, and it'll always have a place in our hearts and in our memories. And not to say that we may not ever return there in the future. If and when they do Rope 2, obviously we'll be there.
I was wondering when Rope was going to come up. This is really early, but like Rope was definitely a massive show for me. I absolutely loved it. And I think the thing that I loved about Rope as well was the fact that I saw the audition for Grano come up, but I couldn't make the audition. And I was like, that's the part I want. And then I think they needed to recast it, or they didn't find someone. So then I went to that audition. And then as soon as I got it, it was such a fun part to play. And I thought that us two together was amazing. Loads of moments in that Scotch Eggs.
I forgot about Scotch Eggs. Wow. One of my fondest ad-libs, and yet so simple. If I remember correctly, and I always do, it was in fact me who suggested you for Grano. So you could say that I am responsible for your entire career.
I could say that. I won't say that. Yeah. I would say that if I would put a lot more like responsibility on your shoulders of my career, I don't think I would have hit the heights that I have now.
Oh dear, I knew I was going to regret having you on this show. You touched on 2 points there. So first of all, you touched on your training. So you trained at East 15 Drama School, covering a variety of subjects and techniques. So would you say that you have a standout memory from your training there?
I've got so many. It was such an intense year. My head of course called Andrea Brooks, who's she's just very good. She was basically given a bit of a health and safety sort of thing for the loved ones, as she would call it, and just sort of like giving a heads up of what we're going to be going through over the next year. And a great way to sort of describe the training was, it was a master's, it was 1 year, but it was as good as a BA because they shoved everything in 3 years into 1 year. And if you missed one day, you feel like you missed like 2 weeks. But I've got so many fond memories there. Like I had quite a few penny drop moments. Living history was an absolute eye-opener for me. there was a moment in living history that I was really just like, I think I get it now, or I think I get what this feeling is. And then when we were doing our MA projects, which is our basically when we devise a show, again a massive penny drop moment, and that opened my world up to a process of writing theatre that really sort of appealed to me. There's no one standout memory because the whole year was just like, yeah, it was an amazing course. I think it's an underrated school, and it is a really much a hidden gem in the acting community.
I can certainly corroborate that it has produced some fantastic actors whom I have the pleasure to know personally, and you. Okay, so now the other point that you touched on, which was going to be one of my questions. So, as well as our mutual fondness for the production rope, and the way that I guess it pushed us and inspired us, but you and I also share something unique, and that is that we have both played the role of Branwell Bronte. For me, Branwell was one of the most troubled and emotional, and therefore challenging characters that I've ever played. So, from one Branwell to another, what was that experience like from your point of view?
I think with Branwell, he's such an interesting character. I think he's a man that really wanted to be seen, and he also felt a lot of pressure to be seen, and he was he had his troubles. He made some terrible decisions, but in the moment it probably felt like a good thing to do. And I think the thing that I found really interesting about Branwell, and for people that know the play Bronte, it goes through the whole of their lives. So you see Branwell as well as a child. And I loved that because you just saw this innocence, and you just saw this sort of young boy that had a zest for life and had an imagination, and he was, but he was still quite controlling it at a young age. And then as you see him go through the play and you see things just falling apart, it's quite heartbreaking. And I think when playing him, I didn't want to make him the victim of anything, because a lot of the things that happened to him were his own doing. And he was a nasty man at some point, especially in his later days. But I always believe that no matter who you play, you can't think that they're a villain. You have to think of them as the hero in their own story. And his story wasn't going to plan for him. So it was quite tricky to not sort of like make him, it was just making him look as human as possible. And that was a real honor, because he is a complex character. And I think he was probably one of he's definitely a character that I put a lot of time into trying to figure out in my incog stays, for sure. Since then, that sort of process is what I try and do for most of my parts. But yeah, he wasn't someone that you could just pick the book up and try and learn his lines and put a Yorkshire accent on. He was someone that you needed to have a lot of respect for, because he wasn't easy. But yeah, he's definitely one of my favourite characters that I've played, and he's whenever I've been watching things to do with Bronte, I always sort of like think of Branwell, and he's I think the picture as well, that the picture that he's erased himself from, because of that, just shows his self-worth. So symbolic, because that tells you everything about the man. He didn't feel that he had earned his stripes to be able to associate with his three sisters. And if you know the journey that he's gone on, for him to actually get to that point is heartbreaking, but it's also, it kind of shows a bit of a humility about him.
I really liked the way you said he was a hero of his own story. I think that's very appropriate summary of a very complex man. And you're absolutely right. It is an honour. It was an honour to have played it.
The way that Polly Teal wrote Branwell was very, very clever. He is he's an amazing character, and also because you played him, I'm sure you would give him a lot of respect.
You're also the singer of successful London band DoubleA. You released your first single in 2019, which you co-wrote, and earlier this year you headlined at the Fiddler's Elbow. So is music as great of a passion for you as acting? And do you have any career plans for DoubleA?
The thing with DoubleA, it was very much like, it is a passion of mine, music, and it is something that I'm really interested in. But when we started to really focus a lot more on DoubleA was very much when I wasn't really getting into the casting room that much for acting. And it was very much scratching an itch to be creative. And since then, like, DoubleA has kind of like really hit a lot of momentum. It was like one of the shames of COVID is it has stopped some momentum with the band, because we had already done a headline show which was sold out. We did a show the following month. We were in April due to do another show and also get into the studio to record a few of our songs. It's definitely a passion of mine. It's kind of hard, like, to sort of know, all right, what's more important for me, acting or music? I trained as an actor, but music is so important to me. And I think the qualities that I bring into the band is, from the training that I've got. The guys, three of them have the rest of them, I guess, all studied in music. So it's very much that creative team sort of like mentality, and that's the sort of stuff that I love to surround myself with, even when it's with the theatre company that I'm also in, and any other projects. It's what everyone brings to the pot. DoubleA also isn't just a band in my eyes. It is very much just something that it's a creative outlet. So right now we've not been able to put much music out, but if you look on our Instagram and stuff, we've done little sketch ideas. It's a sort of like a pot for us to just sort of like throw ideas out and play. So yeah, it's kind of like, for me, on a personal level, like DoubleA is a lot more complicated than just being a band. I would say music is really important to me, but mainly that band and playing with those guys, because we just have a way of working together that's it's really special, and the amount of stuff that we've been able to churn out whilst being in separate corners of London, it shows that we've got a really good work ethic together, and we and it's fun.
Do you have a dream role that you've always wanted to play, and if so, why?
I've been told, like, when School of Rock was on, they were like, you should be Dewey Finn. And that is a role that I would have loved to have done before it left the West End, just because it kind of is the two. It's the acting, it's also being a rock star on stage. One of the roles that I've always wanted to play, and I think with any actor, it's sort of like, it's kind of a bit of a strength to sort of like know where you are at your stage of the career. And I don't think I'm yet at the level that I could maybe play this role, for many reasons, not so much ability, but just sort of like where I am in life. But I would love to play the actor in The Woman in Black. That is basically a dream role. I think I've seen that show far too many times, but it still gets me every single time. I know what sort of types of characters I want to be. There's not sort of like, I want to be the next Del Boy. I would say I'm very much focused on sort of like, which kind of takes me away from roles like the one in The Woman in Black, but I'm very much more of a comedy sort of actor. So those sorts of roles are very much what I feel like I'm very good at and what I'm passionate about. And so it's more just types of roles that are dream roles. If there was a new sitcom on and there was a character in there that I'm just like, yeah, this is me, then I would love that. But I wouldn't say I want to be the next X, Y, and Z.
Those are some great answers. I think you'd be exceptional in both of those roles, especially Dewey. I would love to see that. Really love to see that. So finally, Griffin, are there any projects in the future that you're looking forward to getting back to, or perhaps starting?
I'm looking forward to, like, with the band, we're still writing songs, and we're getting ourselves into a position that as soon as everything's really eased down, that we're just ready to get into a studio and record our second and third single and the music videos for those. So that's really something I'm looking forward to. With other projects, like just before, I think it was maybe about a month or so before lockdown, I was workshopping an idea with some friends. It wasn't anything that I brought to the table. They asked me to play along with this really cool idea. I don't know if I'll be in the final production of it, but like just being in the creating mode for that. I'd love for that to start up again. With Unscathed Theatre as well. This year, I think we were very much focusing on trying to produce work for others, and that's something that is definitely on the cards. It's our theatre company's process is quite difficult to do remotely, but it's but yeah. So once things have eased down, I think just getting back into the room and playing with Unscathed would be really quite fun, because we've got quite a unique style, I feel, or it's maybe not that unique, but it's it works for us.
And well, they sound like with exciting projects to be looking forward to. Well, Griffin, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and seeing you again after what feels like many years. Take care of yourself, stay well and stay safe.
You too, man. Thanks for having me.
All the best. If you would like to be a guest on Series 2 of Don't Say Macbeth, then you can send me a private message on Facebook or Instagram. Or if you're lucky enough to have my telephone number, you can send me a WhatsApp message.